Party, start a bunch of fires, make a little profit.
No, someone's dead. They can't come back, can they?
That's what I thought. Are you referring to anyone in particular?
You know, my daddy used to say, every man's got a devil. You can't rest till you find him.
Winked at me before he jumped out a fourth-floor window like he had wings.
Crow is his link between the land of the living and the realm of the dead.
So kill the crow.
Call, bang, I'm dead.
The devil stood and felt how awful goodness. And felt how awful goodness.
So that is the first trailer they put out, and then there's a second trailer Miramax put out that was mentioned. And I let me see if I've got the DVD here. I was like, I think it was Thursday. I was, while I had the power, the guy coming in to fix the meter and stuff, I did a major cleanup of all my DVDs that this is where the Batman and all the DC ones go, this is where all the Marvel ones go, this is where all the manga anime goes, and this is where all the indie movie DVDs go based on comic books and stuff. But I'd always thought I had it, right? I thought I had it, but then I thought maybe I didn't get it. But turns out I do have it. I have the Crow Brandon Lee two disc collector's edition DVD, and I actually looks like I didn't even open it when I bought it. After bringing it home, didn't even check it out, because usually they come. I get it, and I put on in the drawers or on the shelf, and all I want to know is that I've got it, right? That's all I care about. So this is the actual little slip that's inside it. Would be cool, like if they put a little book in there with it. And the reason I like a little intro or like a preview of the comic book it's based on, because check this out. This is the 30 Days of Night, and on the back it tells you what comics it came from. It's a little trade paperback, right? Pocket-sized trade paperback with full color art and stuff from the actual graphic novel. The way it's colored and stuff. It's got the hues, beautiful. I love this, I love this movie as well as I love the artwork. So Steve Niles, with Ben Templesmith, if I remember right. Is it Ben Templesmith? I think it's Ben Templesmith. Well, tell me. I might be wrong. Please don't be wrong. But, yeah, Ben Templesmith, right? Aussie artist Ben Templesmith. And came out with IDW, right? So, yeah. That's what I mean. So like it would have been really cool. Maybe it did come with it, who knows? But I'm so, I just felt like it would have been so cool to like take it back to the comic books as well. So this came out in 1994 is when, The Crow came to the movies. And for me, I felt, I don't remember, my memory, I've had so many head injuries and concussions over the decades, right? Over the years since I was a child, that I've lost portions of, like, so I don't know if I saw this on actually at the movies or on VHS. But all I know is that when I saw it, I fell in love with it straight away. And then I watched the second one in Fiji on DVD. I think it was City of Angels, if I'm right. So I not on DVD, on VHS. I think I did that at that time. I just it's such a sad yet unique revenge story, which as you guys know, I love revenge stories, but it's also endearing love. And I think this is something that we all want in our lives. We want that male, female, LBGT, whatever it is, that relationship, right? Male to male, female to female, whatever. You want to connect with people. And I think this is why the story just blew up in people's, when they saw it as a movie, right? I guess it was, it was like I'm not sure what the reception was to it as a major hit, coming out, when it first was released, because I know that like there's a they say they're like, what is the Crow, right? Let's start with that. Let's start with the Crow, right? The Crow is a supernatural superhero comic book series created by Joe Barr, right? James O'Barr, right? I think there's a better one I've got here somewhere. I did have a better one about it, which I think is probably a better one to talk about because it's by the wiki. It's by the fans, right? I think where are you? There we are. So let's bring that one. I think it's probably better if we bring the wiki up because it's by fans, and not probably, people just putting whatever they want in there. So, right, the Crow is let me just pop that up a bit higher. There we go. That's more beautiful. The Crow is a series of comic books by James O'Barr. O'Barr conceived and created it in order to help him get over the loss of his fiancée, killed in a car accident. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at him. We're going to look at videos of James talking about the whole creation of the Crow, right? Caliber Comics published the first 4 volumes in 1989, right? It came out 5 years before. Like it's really interesting that it's only a 5-year gap between the movie and then between the comics comes out and then the movie comes out. If you look at sometimes right now, there's like 20-year gaps before something like this happens, right? You got look at what is it? I think it was 10 years with the Walking Dead. So Caliber, which was like just starting up, basically, the guy there read it and said, okay, well, let's publish it. So they published the 4 volumes, and the conclusion to the story was released in 1992 by Tundra, 2 years before the movie. It was later followed by a kitchen sink press release in a graphic novel format in 1993, right? And goes containing a previously unpublished material. Currently, the rights to the titles are held by Pocket Books, right? So, but at the moment, Dynamite. This is something about Dynamite having are doing the comic books, right? IDW did it, and then Dynamites are doing it. So now, which re-released a graphic novel with a new front cover? I guess this is the original one here. You can see on the left here. It's just awesome. The one thing we're going to look at is like what James talks about, his own work and his style, his processes, and that's coming up soon. Now, The Crow achieved a considerable underground success eventually that led to the film adaptation and 3 sequels to the film adaptation and various different comics, books, and media. A soundtrack to the comic book was released the same year. The story revolves around a man and a woman who were brutally killed brutally by a gang of thugs, right? The man named Eric Draven, right, who is resurrected by a crow and giving supernatural powers to exact his revenge against those who killed him and his girlfriend. The Crow has been translated into almost a dozen languages, right? So here's a different books. You got the pain, you got the fear, you got irony, despair, death, and Passover. And then you got all the other things that come out. So there's the plots you can read up, and that is of course on the Crow Wiki, right? Now I'm going to play the second. Let me see here. I'm going to play the second part of that. There we go. Second part of the trailer, which is the second trailer. There's a bit more about it.
When someone died, why was there the land of the dead? But sometimes, just sometimes, the crow could bring that soul back to put the wrong things right.
You're all going to die.
Is that gasoline I smell?
Victims, aren't we all?
Sorry, another one we're gonna. Yep, another we're gonna play is this one here. It's the. Let's see if I got the right one. Here we go. This one's called. This is where he's coming. Coming back after having died. I think. Now, the interesting thing about this is Brandon Lee, who's the actor, the son of
Bruce Lee.
Gosh, Bruce Lee.
How do you not know that?
Yeah, my brain just I was like, just stop. And so, he passed away in this. You want to say a bit more about that, Stu?
Yeah, I mean, this was his passing away hit me hard when I was a kid. I mean, it was probably the first celebrity passing that really just affected me. I was a huge fan of Bruce Lee growing up, and when Brandon Lee started to become a thing, man, his movies were good. I mean, his and all I could tell you, I mean, he had it all, man. He had the good looks, he had the thing, and he wasn't just depending on his dad's name and his martial arts ability. He was wanting to be a legit actor, and that was the main reason that he went for this movie. He was offered the part of Bruce Lee for Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. He's offered his dad to play his dad, but he chose this instead because he didn't want to be pigeonholed into the martial art action star. He wanted to become more of an actor, and it's just the whole movie is just tragic, and it brings me, brings an emotional feel to it because it's just so, to know what happened, it's just so sad. It's such a sad thing that happened. The woman that,
I feel the same way, right? I feel exactly the same way. When I think about The Crow, I think about the tragedy of the story itself, and then I think about Bruce Lee. I mean, Brandon Lee, right? I can't disconnect the two. I can't separate one from the other.
Right.
And then I think about how the character, right, came about, which is what we're going to delve into very soon. But, the tragedy of how this character came about, and then you look at a loss of life on set, right? Because of, we've had something like that happen just recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
With,
Alec Baldwin.
With Alec Baldwin. And so everybody, when they heard about that one, they were like, Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee. Now I'm thinking Bruce Lee all the time.
Right.
Brandon Lee, you know.
And that,
and
I'm going to tell you, I'm a gun advocate. I own a lot of firearms, and it just goes to show you that we need to educate people on how to handle firearms versus banning them. You know,
And
it's literally just a tool. It's a tool, and especially on the movie sets, the protocols that they set forth in the movie sets should not be deviated from. Unfortunately, his tragedy may not have been able to have been avoided. From what I understand, a piece of the blank got wedged into the chamber, and when the cartridge fired, it projected that piece out, and that's what hit him.
right.
And a blank is literally a bullet without is the bullet without the lead component, without the projectile. And there have been tragedies where people have. There was a guy. Oh, he was in a very popular show in the 80s, and I can't even remember the name of the show, but he was joking around with a prop gun, and he did one of those things like where they were waiting on set for so long, he just went like this with the prop gun, you know, joking like, I could die, and shot himself with a blank, and the concussion of the blank hitting him in the head caused him to go into a coma, and he was brain dead like 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah, I think there's always a knee-jerk reaction whenever something with guns is involved.
Right.
And so nobody's talking about like, okay, let's educate. Why? Because everybody who owns a gun legally, right, knows how to operate a gun properly. Those who don't do it, you know, illegally, they're not going to listen to rules and regulations and stuff like that. So, you know, and that is what it is. And I think just trying to ban anything is people's going to, you know, it's going to make it easier for criminals to get it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, only law-abiding citizens are affected by the ban.
Right.
The criminals still have access to it.
Yeah, it's always going to be the case. So, you know, he died so young, right? Like he was what?
28.
28 years old, man. And he was, you know, he was coming up like with so much, you know, set up like, you know, what is like every year? He was like 2 a year.
Yeah, he was almost. So if you go, he was going to be in that movie right there, the Rapid Fire.
Right.
That movie was great. That movie was really good. That was a good martial arts movie. Yeah. You know, it played a little bit on him being his dad's son.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it. You can see like, oh wow, that's his. You know, and it's just so sad. It was just so sad that he's gone. I mean, he was, and I may say something. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think The Crow would have been as successful as it is, and has it become, if Brandon Lee survived. Unfortunately, I think it got popular mainly on that whole, you know, art doesn't sell well until the artist is dead type of mentality. Yeah. And I think a lot of it, because a lot of the people that in my circle during the time that he passed away didn't even know who he wasn't really aware of who he was, and only went to see the movie to see the macabre sense of it, you know, of, oh, it's just this guy's last movie that they did, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a lot of that with it, but I mean, I think after that sort of maybe wore off after about a couple of years later, it is a cult story on its own, because like, you know, the comics was a cult underground following, and it just blew up because, you know, the fact the movie was coming out and more people would have been interested in it. But then the death, you know, became this macabre, like you said.
Right.
But then also that after a while that goes away, and I think then people really dive into what the, you know, what the character is. And like, I mean, you know, like the sequels wouldn't have done that well if it was just because, you know, Brandon Lee wasn't in it, right? Because you had about three others and they were just as dark and just as crazy.
Yeah, but I think
this
that
is good.
I think the sequels just pretty much just followed the same story, right?
Right.
They didn't bring anything really new to it. I know the second one didn't. That's the only one. That's the only sequel one I saw. I didn't
Right.
watch the Edward Furlong one, and I didn't watch the whichever one came on after or before that one. I only watched the two that actually made it to the theaters, and that was the first Crow with Brandon Lee, and then the second one with whatever that guy's name was.
Is it Vincent Perez? I think it was Ash Corvin. No, what was his name in this one? Yeah, it must have been Ash Corvin. It's like the City of Angels.
Yeah, City of Angels. Now I like I think the soundtrack on the first two are amazing soundtracks. There's some good music on that stuff. But you know, I was into comic books for years and years and years and years and years. And the first time that I ever heard about the Crow is when I heard Brandon Lee was going to be the Crow.
Right.
You know, and then he died, and then it just exploded. Everything exploded, you know, with that. That's why I have that opinion. Yeah, it was an underground success, but it was underground. It was way underground.
Right.
I mean, I don't ever remember seeing the book, and I read the book after Brandon Lee passed away, obviously.
Yeah.
And the book is good. I think the book is good.
Yeah. Let me see. I've got. Where is it? Here we go. So I've got this here. Like, so this is a definitive collection edition, and you look at some of the artwork. You know.
Oh, the artwork's amazing.
Yeah. So we're gonna look at the artwork, and then like I've got this setup where we've got this. I want to look at his James O'Barr talking about it, right? So we can actually look at his his own words about it. So and I'm going to stop it every now and then, and you know we'll discuss it.
Okay.
And let me just make sure I've got this because it's interesting. He talks about his life and stuff, and I always find that stuff about the person
down
interesting.
Here. We need it to be quiet. Telling you not to be banging shit around or turning the TV on. Okay. I started drawing as soon as I could hold a pencil or crayons, more accurately. I really didn't care for the illustrations that were in my coloring book, so I would do my own on the backs of the pages, and just kind of carried on from there. I just never stopped. Like I never go anywhere without bringing a notebook and a sketchbook. You know, I'm sitting on airplanes or in cars or something. I'm trying to work out a scene or a pose or something, or you know, writing out some dialogue, scenarios. But I probably have, you know, like 100 of these sketchbooks that are just, you know, full of things from, you know, 15 years worth of stuff. I'm not like a typical comic book artist where like somebody hands me a script and then I translate that onto images on the paper. Like, pretty much everything I've done has been, you know, I've been the writer and the creator of it, and it has to have some kind of personal attachment for me to be involved in it because it takes so much out of me to do this. You know, it's like every single line on that paper comes from me, and every single line on there is there for a purpose. You know, none of it's just eye candy. Everything has a meaning on there, and because it's so draining and it takes so much out of me, you know, something has to be worthwhile for me to invest that much emotion into it. So, you know, all the projects that I've done, you know, have been like a real personal statement for me. and they're things that I've done for myself.
So, you know, myself as a writer and like artist and so forth, I kind of like when I was watching that, I was thinking like, this is why I think like when people talk about AI, there is no emotion behind that. There is no feeling behind it. It's just words and code and stuff being shoved in there. And so I'm like when I'm writing, I'm like I can go for about 2 hours, 3 hours max. And my brain just gets worn out because of all the concussions I've had, right? And injuries and so on. So, but I'll have that flurry of and activity and creativity, and I'll put it out, and then I'll switch off, and I'll put on some music, or I'll go and read something, or I'll put on some anime, or watch some horror, or something else to get my brain to relax again. Because when you're creating at that height, you're like, you know everything's just go. Your brain's just like on fire. And I guess like with you, when with managing a business, when you're on that, there right now, you're on there right now.
Right.
And that's kind of like for creative people. That's kind of like that when you're like drawing and stuff. I mean, you know, when I was like illustrating years back, and I'll be like just on there making sure every line's right, everything's proper, so there's nothing wasted. But like you say, it's like eye candy. He's not doing it to make somebody else be excited about what they see. He's trying to make sure that what he sees is right for him first. And if he feels it's right for him first, then people will enjoy it. What do you think about that?
I'm impressed with his work. I think his work is very, very well done. I think his illustrations are really, really well done. I can't talk. I can't really comment on the process of it, other than I've met other artists and whatnot, and I don't know the process. I just don't know his process of doing things. But the majority of artists I've met, I've worked with Jamie Tyndall, in my previous business that I was working with,
Right.
and really good dude and whatnot. And his process was he basically made a template. He would make make a template of things and draw several different figures over that. But I think it's a cool idea. I like the idea of him bringing a notebook with him everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And if he gets an idea, just throwing down something real fast. I every I just, like I said, I think what he did was well done. Do I think it was revolutionary? I don't think it was revolutionary. I'm not, I don't think I'm trying to crap on the book or on James O'Barr. He did something that I'm not even capable of doing. Right. But Sin City, preceded that. The Dark Knight Returns, that darkness, that dark kind of genre really it's not like he invented it. He
Sure.
And I think that's where a lot of people think had happened. And I think it's really good. I think it's really good artwork. It's iconic, but I don't think it's revolutionary. I think it was, I've seen things before that came out that were very similar and still very good.
Nothing has been, for just purely entertainment value. For a long time, I thought it was kind of like a therapy, or like working out all my problems or angers or frustrations out on paper. And it was a lot cheaper than seeing a therapist or something. Born in a trailer, and I actually got taken to the hospital like sometime in the next week, and my birth mother was so drunken out of it she couldn't remember
So it's interesting to I mean, this is the first time I learned about it this week, right? Because I wanted to go find out after I received this. I was like, what else? Let's talk about who Joe Barr is. Let's find out. I want to learn more about him, because I haven't looked at The Crow since 2005, maybe. That's how long was the last time I actually thought about The Crow, and really thought about it. And I don't know. I think what I had to do, because I was doing film school and we're looking at it that way, at storytelling. And I'd actually just bought a couple Crow back issues at that time, and the comic books, right? And so I didn't know anything about his upbringing, that he was an orphan, and how he was brought up, and the fact that he had all these issues, being a child. I've noticed, I know it happens here in New Zealand as well, where parents aren't able to look after their kids. They get bounced over to auntie, uncle, grandma, or they get taken out of the home completely. I was a friend of mine. This is going back about maybe 2000, probably, yeah, about early 2000. I was living with a friend of mine, and he was a solo dad, had 3 kids, and one of them was basically taken out away from him. And the other one was with a mother, and he had the oldest, right? So, no, I think it was the baby. Yeah, the baby was what court ordained, right? Family. And I had to actually go with him to court to talk about how he was a good dad, that he could have his child back, that he was, that he had gotten his life right. He had, got away from drugs and, not drugs, from alcohol, because of, and his partner was seeing somebody else, was going to get remarried, and he was on his own. He loved his kids. He'd got his life right. And we went to pick up the baby to take him, go and take him away for lunch or something. And I remember hearing them swearing around the baby. And because of the time I was there, I was like, religious. But I also, even now, I don't like kids hearing people swear around them. I myself have purposely trained myself not to swear around children. But, I just felt like, are these the people that are going to look after this child? Is this how they behave? There's bottles of beer out on the freaking, on the driveway, and the recycle, like a whole bin of them. And then they've got the baby here. And where it could be better if he was with the mother or the father. who really wants the baby. And it felt, you know, I like opened my mouth and I said, I saw this child not being looked after really well. And then I was thinking, I came back out and I apologized. I said it wasn't my place to say anything, right? Because it wasn't, had nothing to do with me, even though I felt that way. And then the guy said, I felt like smashing you then, bro. But yeah, I accept your apology, right? And so that was calmed down. It was all good, because that would have turned everything nastier. But you know, it feels like that foster homes have become like kind of like easy money making schemes for certain types of people that, like you said, shouldn't have kids, and like, you know, even like their parents that shouldn't even have children, right? And they just get, you know, and then we can go on about like, well, contraception and all that, but like there are people that shouldn't have kids, yet they don't want kids anyway, but they'll have kids because then now they don't have to work, right? Because the government will pay for them, like especially in New Zealand, government will pay for them to stay at home and get that extra couple $100 a week just so they got a baby. And then you're like, well, what are you spending on the baby? How much food are you providing? What's the care? Have they got a good, safe area to be in? Are they around other adults, right? Stuff like that. It's just, you know.
Well, it's so sad is that, you know, society has gotten to the point where, you know, yeah, we can have a baby and we get paid for it, and the bad thing is the government's not really following up with the parents, you know, of these kids. You know, my best friend's sister, she got pregnant as a teenager. And between the time that she was 15, when she had her first kid, she was 15, until a few years ago, she had a baby almost every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just ridiculous. You know, I'm not saying she had 20 kids, but she had like 8 or 9 children.
Yeah.
And what it was is she was getting a stipend, a monthly stipend from the government to help take care of these kids. And, you know, the child services really wouldn't show up and do anything. You know, the kids were just living in filth and, you know, dilapidated house. She literally was living with her father and literally just pretty much destroyed his house.
Yeah.
And then the kids grew up and they did not become productive members of society.
Yeah.
You know, so we had one non-productive member of society that we were paid for to have kids, and now she has 9 kids, and the one of them did get adopted. One got pulled out and adopted.
Yeah.
But the other ones all turned into non-productive members of society, which is you're just multiplying the problem. And it's sad. It's so sad. I just, you know, I wish there was a time, you know, the government would have come in and just been like, okay, well, it's obvious what you're doing.
Yeah.
After this baby's done, after you have this baby here, we're gonna go ahead and tie your knots, tie your knot, you know, tie you up.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to have any more babies. You're just not gonna be able to have any more babies. Sorry, because you're not becoming a productive member of society. The idea of helping a person is to help them get on their feet so that they can be a productive member of society. At no point was she ever done that. She sold drugs. She, you know, I mean, it was like this. She was just and all of the children started off, they were sweet kids. They were all sweet kids.
Yeah.
And then they just turned into jerks. One of her kids bought like $2,000 worth of game stuff on the Xbox
Yeah.
and off of his grandfather's credit card. You know, I mean, and this guy's a retired Navy, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, he has a set income, and they're just taking advantage of it. It was just horrible, just terrible. So, and I admired James O'Barr from being able to
Hmm.
come come out of that and become something better. I feel for him because he looks like he's even having trouble just talking to the interviewer. Um,
Yeah.
so and yeah, he gave us one of the, you know, a great piece of modern literature. You
Hmm.
know, um, I wish he didn't have to suffer so that he could have done that. I wish he could have just been a normal person, normal kid,
Yeah.
and grown up and just made and still made it for us anyway. But
Yeah.
the most astounding line, and most astounding memorable dialogue in the entire book and in the movie, he said it in the movie too, is mother is the word for God on the lips of babes, on
Yeah.
the lips of children. That's
That.
that is a powerful message.
Yeah. That is something that is actually in a Bollywood movie I heard when I was a kid. I can't remember what it is, but one of the greatest, um, Bollywood stars, right? Indian stars, Amitabh Bachchan, right? Says it. He goes, this exactly the same thing. The mother is God to children, kind of thing. I can't even remember the exact Hindi words. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
terrible at Hindi, but exactly the same thing, and I think it was had to do with like, yeah, it was a very I think it was a very family oriented movie about something, but I'll have to ask my mom about it. But you're right, I mean, we don't- it's just, I mean, like, we beget what we are, right? And you sort of like whatever we are, we'll be, as our children will become that, and we hope that they'll be better and they'll make life easier for them. But I think a lot of times now we just strive on emotion and we let people, like you're saying about feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Operate on feelings rather than pragmatic uh, thinking and stuff. And yeah, and I mean, it's amazing to see, you know, what he's gone through and to be able to come out and create something amazing. We'll
Right.
just carry on and see
Training
what's
at
going.
all. Everything was kind of self-taught,
Hold
and
on,
I
let's
all
step back.
everything since then. I never books, which is like a major failing of the artist day. It's like they learn from an exaggerated picture, so they're like doing an exaggeration of an exaggeration, and so it's twice removed from life. And the muscle structure is like completely wrong, and the figures just have no weight, or they're not solid. And so I actually learned to draw from like Michelangelo's statues, just classic sculpture, paintings from that era. I, I just kind of worked at it and worked at it, and um, if I had trouble with one area, like hands and feet and faces are typical areas that most people have trouble with. I would just work on those continually until I thought I had them down to where I could put it in any position, and it would work and it would look lifelike, and I could make it do what I needed it to do to tell a story. Believe it or not, I got like a failing grade in art class. I had one of those foolish instructors who, I mean, not sound arrogant or anything, but I was like so far ahead of everybody else that their typical assignments were just like things that I had done when I was a toddler, and so I just could not bring myself to do that. I mean, I was doing these big epic scenarios while everybody else was drawing a cone, and because I refused to kowtow to this instructor and do his basic first first grade, 3-dimensional stuff. I ended up getting a failing grade, which kept me from placing higher on the graduation list. But I mean, that wasn't anything I was concerned with at the time. My adoptive parents were you know, blue collar, hardworking people from down south. They didn't see art as any type of career. It was just kind of a hobby to waste time with. You know, I think they thought drawing was the equivalent of playing cards. You know, it was just something to do. And I don't know, it kind of reached an apex in my teenage years where I was forbidden to draw in the house because I was wasting so much time, and was told to go out and get a real job, which I subsequently had to do, you know, washing dishes at a restaurant or working at the nursing home. And for a long time, I wasn't allowed to draw in the house. I would have to go to the library or do it at school, and just in secret. Up until I was like 16, I kind of felt like my life was this.
I hear that from a lot of artists, like, because I mean, like, you know, it's got a lot to do with like parents wanting to, you know, set the kids up in some sort of like secure job, you know,
Right.
and not so much about, you know, because they see you going to be a doctor, you're going to be a mechanic, you know, or a plumber as a secure thing that will always be necessary and needed, you know, and you'd be able to do that work, or a carpenter or whatever, the solid, you know, stuff that's always needed.
Right.
But so, you know, when we look back and go, oh, how bad those parents were they think about that? But really, it wasn't. Like, I mean, I remember when I was in Auckland, working in a factory, my mum's, and I was having a hard time. This is when I was about 20, or I think about 20. And my mum said, dude, you know, why don't you come back and get educated? Go do your second, you know, go complete your chef's course, and you'll have that, you know. And then, you know, and that of course came in handy for 3 entire years while I studied, you know, as a filmmaker. Like, I studied to be a filmmaker for 3 years, you know. For 3.5 years I was able to, while doing my bachelor's, I was able to use my chef's course, you know, all the learnings and stuff like that, to actually have a job, you know. And while I actually did what I wanted to do, which is learn how to make film. And I think we are going back to that now, because you can see all the people that are going, like, you know, all my $100,000, you know, humanities or, you know, psychology or whatever isn't working now. And people going, well, you should have at least tried to get something practical, because your practical would have helped you while you were studying to actually learn a skill that's
Right.
practical.
Right. Well, I am a big fan of learning a trade. I am a huge fan of learning a trade, because a trade is going to always stay with you. You're always going to be able to find something, some sort of a work. As far as parents not being, for lack of a better term, supportive of an art career, I don't hold that against parents. I'm not upset with parents. Parents want the best for their kids, and they do not want their children to fail. And parents understand how difficult it is to get into some of these fields. It's difficult getting into regular jobs. Right now, you know, pile on top of that of getting into a comic book gig, right? Would we be talking about James O'Barr today if he wasn't a talented writer as well? Right? You know, if he didn't write the story of The Crow, but was only an artist, would he have gotten work doing his craft? And that's a good question, because there's obviously a reason that he wrote his own book, right? And I'm grateful for it. It's great that he did it. I'm happy that he did it. He gave us some good cinema as well. He gave us some good things. And that's the thing is like, would he have been as successful as he is now if he wasn't a good writer? If he's just a great artist, not a writer, would he have been as successful today? And that's a question. And your parents, his parents his adoptive parents may have only seen that he was a good artist.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you've got to be, you can't just be good to make it. You got to be super, really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And to make it in that business. And so I don't really get upset with when I hear, oh, my mom wasn't really supportive of my art career. Oh, your mom was supportive of you.
Yeah.
And wants the best for you and wants to make sure that you're going to be able to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And if your mom has never done any kind of art type of thing, she's going to move towards things that she knows will put food on your table and make you be able to pay the light bill, the heating bill, and rent. So I think parents get a bad rap sometimes in that community because you always hear it. Oh, my parents weren't really supportive of me, really didn't want that for me. Well, parents want you to be happy. Parents want you to be successful. And they just don't want you to. They want to protect you. I want to protect you.
Yeah. They don't want to see their children fail, because the last thing is you want your child to fail. And I think, I was on a podcast yesterday. I was just suggesting it, like, look, if you're going to be doing this, get a part-time job as well, because it's going to, whatever that part-time job is, it's going to train you to be better in that practical skill while you do your art, while you do your writing, because, I used to do that. I used to write and do the comic books for about, 2 years while I was actually going to work, doing shift work, 2 days off on the computer, art, writing, back again on the computer, go to work, come back, do that. And I think, that's sort of like the expectation is that, like, everybody thinks that art pays barely enough, right? And so you always got to be working at it, but you still got to make sure that you still got bills to pay.
You got bills to pay.
And that's what your parents want you to be able to do, to pay the bills, to be able to eat, to be able to have a shelter, to have a car if you need a car to get to work and stuff. So let's go to the next one.
It was an endurance test that I had to get through. It was like, what more could be thrown at me? I kind of felt like God had his elbow on my neck my whole life. It was like I just had to get to the end of it. I had to get to the end of the race, and then, then good things would happen. And when I was 16, I met this girl, and she was like an angel to me. I mean, she was just, absolutely everything I had ever wanted. And I thought, I did it. I got to the end of the race. I got, for not caving in, for not surrendering, for fighting through that 16 years of difficulty. I finally got to the end, and I've got the prize. And she was like the exact opposite of me. I was, dark and brooding and sarcastic.
Reminds me of May and my first
really
girlfriend.
Venomous and everything, and she was like, just like this bright white light who was always happy, and I never heard her say a foul word or a word against anyone. If I would like verbally attack someone, she would point out their good points, and so it was like I don't know, it was like positive and negative. We just kind of fit together perfect, and it was just like a perfect balance. And and everything that I had found, wanting in human nature, she would point out the positive aspects of it. So I don't know, I was really enamored of her, and I just, it was like meeting someone, and I just could not find any fault with her at all. And she was just like a shining light in my life. And we were together for like every day for probably 3 years. And we were engaged, and we were supposed to be married after we graduated. And she was killed by a drunk driver. And and I was like pretty much just destroyed. You know, everything that I had worked for, had been working up to, was wrapped around this person, and suddenly she was gone for no good reason. I mean, you know, it's not like she had an illness or it was something that was anticipated. Just like one day out of the blue, you know, somebody decided to get drunk and drive down a side street at 70 miles an hour, and suddenly she was just gone.
Yeah. So, you know, having been in a car accident, yeah, and somebody else crashes into you, you know, it's not the best place to be. But like, you can see that in the story with the crow, you know, like he's putting everything he had into it, and you can see it's kind of cathartic for him to be able to tell the love story that he wanted to see, you know, that he was having himself with his you know, with the girl there, and it's like he finally, you know, he kind of like 16 years old, he finally got it right. Everything is going right for him, and he's had everything go wrong for him, and now he's got engaged, 19, about, you know, 20 going to 20, 19 going on to 20, you know, about to be married, start a family, and boom, you know, somebody else decides, oh, we're going to speed, we're going to drink and do that. It's just this whole idea of like, I can do it, and not, you know, I can go get drunk and I can go drive a car, and it doesn't matter. You know, nobody else matters out there. It's just me. You know, I gotta get A to B, and it doesn't matter if I'm drunk or not. I'm gonna move. And I've been around people like that. Just the ultimate selfishness of it all. You know,
Yeah.
and it's just such, you know, and you like, and you see this happen all the time, yet people still keep doing it. You know.
Yeah, it sucks. It's horrible. You know, feel for the guy. You know, yeah, you know, that you know, that story of the crow is just, it is nothing but wrapped up in sorrow and sadness.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you know, knowing that, I mean, you know, if the inspiration of it is his sadness of the loss of his girlfriend or his
Yeah.
fiance. I mean, and then Brandon Lee losing his life.
Yeah.
One of the actors in the actor that shot Brandon Lee stopped acting for a very long time, and still has trouble knowing that you know, he inadvertently, you know, killed this person. It's strange that a super sad story, love story, is surrounded with nothing but sadness.
Yeah.
You know, um, you know, and I don't have much to say about it. I mean, it just,
Yeah.
like I said, I appreciate the story, and I don't, you know, I gave my opinion about how it is. I stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel for the guy. I wish the guy wasn't like that. I hope he found happiness. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
he's got kids. He's married. He's got kids, and
Very
you
good.
know, and you know, you guys can watch it. You know, the rest of it, like there's 3 other parts there. It's a 40. I think it's a 45-minute all up. So it's pretty. You know,
Right.
it's not long, but it's pretty.
Has he done anything else other than The Crow? I mean,
I think. Let me have a look here, because I know he does like. He's a painter as well. He was in the Marines, right? Let me see. Bibliography. So, what does he do after that? He's done another one called Choke. He's been, what is it like? Choke, and he's done work for different people, but I think The Crow's the one that he's like, pretty much in turn, Oh, there's another one called Dante's Disciples, Dead Boy. There's several other works he's done, but I think Crow's the one that really sticks out because it's that autobiographical, something very, very personal, and I think that's what makes it really, amazing. And but he does paintings as well, and I'm not sure. I was trying to figure out, does he still own the rights to the Crow as a character because he's named as a creator? I've been trying to find out, but they say Pocket Books has the rights, and I don't know if they still publish it or what happened. It's kind of like something I need to dive deeper into.